The desk will note. File item 17, Senate Bill 16, Senator Bell, pass. File item 18, Senate Bill 24, Senator Hill, passed temporarily. Pass on file. File item 19, Senate Bill 248. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 248 by Senator Pavley, an act relating to oil and gas.
Senator Pavley.
You know, after that last discussion for 2 hours, everything else seems a little bit trivial, and I hate to follow the discussion, but being the last day, I think I'll bring it up. So this bill is about the underground injection control program. Obviously, again, not a huge topic right after talking about life choices, but it is important, and I'll share with you why. And I'll share with you why I'm carrying this bill. Simply put, it's about protecting our water supply. I chair the Water Committee. That's what drives my attention to this matter. We're in the fourth year of record drought. We have to balance in our state an oil industry, and I've worked with the oil industry on this before. That's a fracking measure. Many of you here supported a ban. I stepped up to the plate and found a way to regulate oil production and hopefully safely dispose of waste. A lot of you preferred putting a ban or a moratorium in place. So this is not an anti-oil industry measure. This is protecting our water supply. And what recent problems should be brought to your attention? I'm not sure if last fall or earlier this year you didn't read in the papers that, unbeknownst to all of us who had been working on allowing oil production to proceed safely without jeopardizing our water quality or water supply, find out through the Environmental Protection Agency about what they called shocking errors of management. We've been allowing California's oil companies to inject wastewater into areas that are in protected aquifers as defined by the Federal Environmental Protection Agency under the Clean Water Act. Now, why is this a problem? First of all, we have outlined areas where I was guaranteed that no wells were being fracked in those areas, or traditional oil wells where the disposal of waste fluid was occurring in here. We're finding out traditional oil drilling, yes, they need to produce water, and it does have some chemicals in it, and find a safe way to dispose it. I recognize of that. It is illegal to put it in protected aquifers where potentially that water could be used for beneficial purposes, for drinking water or for agricultural purposes, and if not now, could it be in years of drought cleaned up to such an extent that potentially it could be used? So I don't think we should jeopardize our water supply. You know, it's a lot more expensive to, after the fact, trying to clean up a groundwater basin. In the San Fernando Valley, we're faced with World War II defense industries who have contaminated plumes in the northeast San Fernando Valley. If we clean up that basin, the last time I looked at the cost, it's going to be about $900 million. It would provide 1/4 of the city of Los Angeles's water needs. It's expensive to make a mistake and allow the pollution of your groundwater basins. So this bill is about doing a better job in managing that very careful relationship we have with allowing oil drilling to occur thoughtfully, but also looking at a safe way to dispose of the waste injection fluid or the wastewater injection wells. They're put in the ground for essentially forever, and we're trusting that there's not going to be problems of them contaminating water supply. When I worked on the fracking bill, that was the goal that practically the oil companies, myself, and the administration all shared. But perhaps through mismanagement or lax management or misunderstandings, information came out this past fall and this spring where we found out that DOGGR, our Division of Oil and Gas and Geothermal Recovery, which is a small sort of permitting agency under the Department of Conservation, improperly permitted 2,500 oil and gas wells, which potentially puts groundwater at risk. We had learned just last month you can add another 3,600 oil and gas injection wells that were also improperly permitted. Is this a relatively small number in the total amount of oil protection? Yes, but if it's polluting a groundwater basin, it is a big deal. So this is in violation of the Clean Water Act. So the EPA, DOGGR, that's the Division of Oil and Gas and Geothermal Resources, and the water boards all have agreed to a timetable to examine each of those 2,500 wells. They've started down this process. They have a timetable of doing the first that are closest to the aquifers by October, and then they have up through February of 2017 to inspect all the other 2,500 wells. What this bill does is put that timetable into place. We've allowed DOGGR in the last 3 years to hire 60 additional employees that are inspecting those wells. We've now got the State Water Board thoroughly engaged, who hadn't been really working with DOGGR in the past. They're engaged. I have some concern that that date of February 2017, which is nearly 2 years from now, where they're slowly inspecting wells, and we hope it hasn't contaminated any groundwater basins, but we won't know that till we investigate them. I hope they don't find they've contaminated them. I hope they meet their deadlines. What this bill does is put that timeline into statute. It codifies it. Get it done. Get it done. Continue. Look at those wells. Make sure they're not polluting. Don't let this mismanagement continue on. So this bill puts that timeline into statute. Everyone says they're committed to reaching that date. Let's have them mean what they say. It also provides a review that DOGGR every 10 years or so would review rules and regulations. If there doesn't need to be any changes, fine. We're just saying take a pause, look at what's been done, because the technology and the conditions and our groundwater basins and other issues need some review every once in a while. It's been 20 years since there's been any really reform by DOGGR. It also shuts some loopholes relating to not reporting some oil and gas related activities. The oil companies are characterizing this as an attack on big oil. I want to let you know it's really about protecting groundwater. That's what's important. Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Wieckowski.
Madam President and members, I rise in support of SB 248. Last March, I was the chair of that joint hearing on natural resources and environmental quality, and DOGGR did in fact come and acknowledge that there was permitting of wastewater into aquifers that other people were pumping out drinking water. It's this bill, as the gentlewoman from Agora Hills points out, codifies, puts into legislative intent the muscle that we need to make sure that the DOGGR is really inspecting these wells. It's a push to make sure that the executive branch is doing what we in the legislative branch feel is proper to protect the water resources for members throughout the state of California, and I would urge an aye vote.
Thank you, sir. Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in opposition to SB 248. I feel it's just a further vilification of the oil industry in this time in response to a very serious drought. It's just another example of overregulation. The facts remain that to date, not one usable aquifer in the state has been found to be contaminated, not one. The State Water Board and Division of Oil and Gas did a review of all injection wells and identified 23 wells out of 50,000 in the state that were installed near sources of potential drinking water. Even though the injection occurs hundreds of feet below the well waters, the water wells and aquifers, out of an abundance of caution, the state agencies shut down those wells in order to test to see if any of the injected fluid had migrated to those water supplies, and guess what? Not one was found. Dogger and the State Water Board have submitted to the U.S. EPA a plan for UIC program improvements that's been accepted by the United States EPA as fully compliant with the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. This plan establishes timelines and milestones agreed to by the EPA, the division, and the State Water Board. Let's not add more layers of bureaucracy and yet more regulation that will in the end only hurt legitimate businesses and cost jobs in the state of California. Frankly, this bill is not necessary. I would urge a no vote.
Senator Allen.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Colleagues, we have embarked on a very special task this year, which is the issue of oversight. And I know that's something that folks on both sides of the aisle care a great deal about, that the legislature in some respects was derelicting its responsibility, abrogating its responsibility with regards to oversight over the past few years and only focused on being a bill factory. Well, we did provide oversight. We held extensive hearings, and we found out some extraordinary things about what was going on over at Dogger. And it shed light on a whole new set of problems relating to the underground injection control program. And these are problems that have the potential to threaten California's scarce drinking water resources. So the Senate has responded with several measures that aim to ensure that both Dogger and the Water Board act in a thoughtful and forward-thinking manner to balance the need for both the need for oil and gas exploration while also protecting our state's aquifers. This is one of those measures, as is SB 454, which we'll hear about later today. So this is a bill that seeks to provide regulatory accountability and transparency, both of which unfortunately have been lacking. At these oversight hearings, we learned not only that Dogger allowed injection of wastewater fluids into aquifers that should have been protected, that were non-exempted under federal and state law, but they also need to improve their regulatory oversight of wells that use cyclic steam injection. Now, Dogger acknowledged routinely allowing oil and gas producers to inject steam underground at pressure high enough to crack open underground rock formations in violation of both state and federal regulations. Now, a couple years ago with SB 4, the legislature required Dogger to develop a comprehensive regulatory process for fracking operations, including a permitting process and public notification and disclosure. Now, this bill asks Dogger to review and update its regulatory program for the rest of its injection well program. Specifically, it calls on Dogger to develop a framework to address the various different types of injection wells, ensures appropriate reporting and monitoring, increases transparency, and updates Dogger's data management systems, which were also found to be sorely lacking. These changes are needed to address the recent challenges that Dogger has faced as it tries to balance its two mandates, which is to both allow oil and gas exploration while protecting our groundwater resources. I think that that history has shown, our oversight hearings have shown that this is an important bill. And even if at the very least, the passage of this bill and the advance of this bill helps to spur the governor and the various folks in the industry and in the administration to start addressing the documented abrogations that we looked at in the oversight hearing, we will have done ourselves a real service, we will have done water quality and our water infrastructure a real service, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, Senator Pavley, please close.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Allen and those members of the Water Committee who sat through that hearing in March. It was quite instructive. And just like when I started the process with fracking a couple of years ago, when Dogger couldn't tell you what wells were being fracked, what water was being used, where were they disposing of the wastewater, and what chemicals were being used. If it wasn't for those of you who were supporting the ban, those regulations never would have been passed on fracking. That was the compromise, right? Right now, I'm facing oil companies. I haven't seen such a heavy presence in the building in quite a while, trying to defeat this bill. This bill that mostly ensures that we can protect our water supply while allowing oil operations to take place. It simply codifies an agreed to position by the EPA, who say we're violating the Safe Drinking Water Act. It codifies an agreement and a timeline with the EPA and Dogger and the state water boards to survey all those 2,500 wells. They've started down that process. 23 of those wells have been closed, I think 2 back open. We better not make a mistake here. We're already investing tons of taxpayers' dollars in Prop 1, looking at surface storage, cleaning up groundwater, putting in recycled water. Make that timeline, put it in statute, make it count. Let our management agencies, Dogger and State Water Board, to meet those deadlines. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. No. Block. Aye. Canella. No. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. No. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Weso. Aye. Huff. No.
McGuire.
Jackson. Aye. Lada. Leno. Leva. No. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. No. Mitchell.
Aye.
Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. No. Runner, no. Vidak. No. Wykowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
De Leon. Galgiani. Hall. Lada. Leno. Nielsen. Pan. Pan, aye.
Senator Pavley moves the call. Senator Jackson, for what purpose do you rise?
If I could ask that we go to file item, I think it's 47, and take that one up, please.
Colleagues, file item 47, that's Senate Bill 579. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 579 by Senator Jackson, an act relating to employment.
Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President and colleagues. This measure takes a necessary and practical step toward modernizing the California Family School Partnership Act, which allows parents to take up to 40 hours, again, of unpaid leave in a calendar year to participate in their child's educational development. This measure makes 2 modest yet important changes to this act to allow parents to use their existing ability to take an unpaid day off work to 1, enroll their child or children in school or in a child care program, and 2, to respond to an emergency in their child's school or child care program. It's important to emphasize this bill does not increase the amount of time parents are entitled to take off under current law, God forbid. Rather, it simply provides a modest and reasonable increase to how working parents may utilize existing job protections. Under this limited job protection, it helps to ensure that working parents can be engaged in their children's educational development and can be responsive to unexpected emergencies in their child's school or child care, something which I suspect every parent in this room has experienced during the course of their children's lives. This bill has changed significantly since it was heard in the Senate Labor Committee. At that time, it was opposed by a number of employer-based organizations, including the Chamber and the California Manufacturers and Technology Association. I am pleased to share with you that after weeks of meeting and working collaboratively with the opposition, we've reached agreement on amendments that were taken yesterday, and with these amendments, all the opposition has been removed. I'm proud of this effort as I see it emblematic that workplace protections and economic development can, should, and do go hand in hand, that labor and business can work together, that this is not an us versus them scenario, rather that when we work together, we can recognize and develop mutually beneficial policies that reflect the needs and values of our working families and our businesses in this great state. And with that, I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or debate on this matter? Senator Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of SB 579. My husband and I we both work full-time and are raising 2 small children. Because of this, I too understand all too well that health and school emergency arise and parents must deal with them. In fact, most children live in households where both parents work, and 1/3 of families with children are headed by single parents. Unfortunately, under current law, parents may be forced to choose between their job and providing for the welfare and education of their child. Yes, working parents receive protected sick leave under current law. This law doesn't increase the amount of time off parents are entitled to. Instead, the bill says that covering child care emergencies is an allowed use of an employer offers sick leave benefit under the existing law. It also clarifies existing law to ensure that employer offers sick leave can be used to take care of grandparents, grandchildren, and siblings, as well as for preventive health care appointments. Plus, it ensures that step and foster parents are entitled to use protected leave to participate in school activities just like any other parent. A working parent, frantic over dealing with the health or school emergency needs of a child, is an unhappy and a very unproductive employee. Fundamentally, employers benefit when their employees are happy and not struggling to balance the needs of their family with job security. Finally, as mentioned and noted, that even the large employer associations that were opposing this bill, the California Chamber of Commerce, the Restaurant Association, Western Growers, and many others have withdrawn their opposition based upon recent amendments that have improved the bill. And I do again want to thank the senator from Santa Barbara for bringing this bill up, and I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion or debate? Senator Anderson.
I rise in support of this bill. I think that this is very timely. As parents will be searching for schools for their children or education opportunities, if they choose not to vaccinate, this will be very timely. Thank you to the author.
Would you like to close?
Yes, thank you. My good friend from the southern part of the state, this bill simply allows for a school or child care provider. The definition of child care, a school emergency, deals with where a child care provider has requested the child be picked up or has an attendance policy that prohibits the child from attending or requiring the child to be picked up from a school because of the attendance policy. It also deals with the ability, a child care emergency is if there's a behavioral or disciplinary problem, something which I'm sure none of the parents in this room have ever had to deal with their children, or the closure of a facility. Those are the criteria, and with that, I would ask for your aye vote.
Please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. I, Bell. I, Berryhill. I, Block. I, Canella. I, De Leon. Fuller. I, Gaines. I, Galgiani. I, Glazer. I, Hall. I, Hancock. I, Hernandez. I, Hertzberg. I, Hill. I, Weso. I, Huff. I, Jackson. I, Lada. Leno. Leva. I, Liu. I, McGuire. I, Mendoza. I, Mitchell. I, Monning. I, Morlock. Morrell. Wynn. I, Nielsen. Pan. I, Pavley. Roth. I, Runner. Stone. I, Vidak. I, Wachowski. I, Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
De Leon. Lada. Leno. Morlock. I, Morrell. Nilsson. Pavley. I, Runner. Aye.
Ayes 35, no 0. The measure passes. Members will now return to file item 20, pass on file. File item 21, Senate Bill 148. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 148 by Senator McGuire, an act relating to career technical education.
Members, before Senator McGuire begins, I want to provide clarification. Senator McGuire is going to reference actual names of senators in his opening statement, and as the presiding officer, I have granted him permission to do so. Mr. McGuire.
I do appreciate it, President Mitchell. Okay, that's a little good. Full disclosure, thank you so much. I really do appreciate those words, and grateful to stand with joint author Senator Leyva on this important legislation, along with Senator Huff, Senators Allen, Hall, Mendoza, Vidak, Nielsen, and of course, incoming Minority Leader Fuller, and very grateful. According to the U.S. 2010 census, in California, almost 70% of public high school graduates will not go on to receive a four-year college degree. Along with providing students opportunities to go on to a four-year college or university, students of today require career training and technical job skills programs to ensure that they have the tools necessary to thrive in our state's rebounding economy. We know that quality career technical education programs based on student outcomes work. Investment in CTE not only creates tangible skills and training for our future workforce, it has proven to decrease high school dropout rates. The average high school graduation rate for students concentrating in CTE programs is 90%, compared to an average freshman graduation rate of 75% in California public high schools. Throughout the last 6 months, myself, along with Senator Leyva, along with our broad bipartisan coalition, have been working with the Department of Finance, Department of Education, the Senate Education Committee, and thank you to Senator Liu, teachers, manufacturers, building trades, the Cal Labor Fed, the Chamber and Farm Bureau, and many other stakeholders to craft this comprehensive bill. Senate Bill 148 not only has stringent accountability and performance standards, but it also ensures programs are outcome-based. And an important part of this bill is that for the first time, additional funding will be set aside for disadvantaged urban and rural districts. Currently, the $400 million that has been allocated for career technical education is being discussed in the conference committee, and this bill will be amended to reflect the outcome of those discussions. As a result, this bill will return to the House for all of your final consideration. And finally, Madam President, and I don't usually do this, but would like to be able to list a few of the organizations that are in support, because it is a very broad coalition. California Teachers Association, the California Federation of Teachers, the Los Angeles County Office of Education, the School Boards Association, thank you to the California Association of School Administrators, the California Chamber of Commerce, manufacturers, building trades, the Farm Bureau, and many others. This bill, and I'm grateful for this, has bipartisan support and no opposition, and I want to again thank the senators, in particular Senator Leyva, for all the work, and of course our joint and co-authors as well, including the Minority Leader, Mr. Huff.
Thank you, Senator McGuire. Senator Huff, under debate and discussion, to be followed by Senator, the good senator from Orange County. Thank you, sir. Senator Huff.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Career Tech education provides relevant real-world learning opportunities that 81% of high school dropouts say would have kept them in school. CTE investment is at a historic low, even with the bill's proposed allocation, and now it's less than originally was hoped for. But even with that allocation, there will be less money available than the sum of current ROCP maintenance of effort and pathway trust grants. Because we've dramatically shifted the way we fund public schools from categorical funding to LCFF, a wholesale diversion of vocational educational resources has been the result. The funds allocated in this bill will not reinstate CTA at levels at historic highs, but it will help meet needs of students and our workforce, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a question for the author of the bill.
Without objection.
I'm having fun asking questions of the Senator of Sonoma today, so thank you very much. The question is, the Department of Education staff indicate that it would likely require an annual non-Proposition 98 general fund appropriation of about $500,000 per year to administer a grant program of this size. And I'm just wondering if the author would be willing to see if we could get Prop 98 funding up for the $500,000 as opposed to general fund.
Thank you to the amazing senator from Orange County. Do appreciate the question. That is an item that is currently being discussed, quite frankly, at the conference committee, and I know that will continue to evolve. I don't have a firm answer for you, being very candid at the moment, but it will be working its way through the conference committee process and coming back to both houses. I do know from our conversation earlier that that is an issue, and we will be definitely taking that up. And I don't have an answer for you on that today, and I apologize.
Well, I just want to thank the senator from the wonderful county of Sonoma. Thank you, Madam President. I encourage and I vote.
Thank you.
Thank you from the wonderful area of Orange. Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Madam President. I just quickly want to urge an aye vote and just say that we have all done a wonderful job over the years of making sure our kids have the opportunity to go to a four-year college, but sometimes we forget to tell our students that CTE, career technical education, is just as valuable. So this bill will go a long way in making sure that all students have a path into the future. Thank you for your support, and I urge an aye vote.
Read that.
Thank you, Senator Leyva. Any further debate or discussion? Senator Hancock.
Just as a small piece of clarification, this is an excellent bill. I urge everyone to vote for it. To point out, this is career technical education is not only for young people who are not going to college. It often inspires young people to go on to higher education. It's called contextual learning, learning by doing. And for many disengaged young people, it is the road to academic learning. So yes, I urge an aye vote. And
is there anyone else who wants to embrace this bill? All right, seeing and hearing, that's Senator Anderson expressing his opinion. And with all debate having ceased, Mr. Secretary, and colleagues, is there any objection to substituting a unanimous roll call on this item? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 36, no 0, the measure passes. File item 22, Senator Gaines. Not at his desk. Senator Gaines, Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 170 by Senator Gaines, enacting to unmanned aircraft systems.
Senator Gaines.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Today I bring you Senate Bill 170. This bill would make it a misdemeanor to fly a drone over a prison or a jail. Not allowing drones over prisons and jails keeps drones from being used to drop contraband into facilities and keeps inmates from getting a hold of sensitive information that could be used for a variety of dangerous exploits. I will amend this bill in the Assembly to address the recent change by the FAA to the definition of navigable airspace. This bill has received no votes, SB 170 will help keep our prisons and jails safe and orderly. I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Gaines from El Dorado. Any further debate or discussion on this item? Any debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there any objection to substituting a unanimous roll call on this item? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 36, no 0. The measure passes. File item 23. Senator Berryhill, do you wish to take up that item? Not at his desk. Pass temporarily. File item 24, Senator Allen. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 454 by Senator Allen, enacting to water quality.
Senator Allen.